Hello everyone, we are Group 38, and today we will be telling you about IEQ Credit 3, Construction Indoor Air Quality Management Plan. The intent of IEQ Credit 3 is to promote the well-being of construction workers and building occupants by minimizing indoor air quality problems associated with construction and renovation. This credit applies to all project types and is worth 1 point for each project type. Every project type except for healthcare is required to develop and implement an indoor air quality IAQ management plan for the construction and pre-occupancy phases of the building. This IAQ management plan must address 4 things. First, it must meet all of the recommended control measures of the Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning National Contractors Association IAQ guidelines for occupied buildings. These SMACNA guidelines will be reviewed later in the presentation. Second, absorptive materials stored on site and installed must be protected from moisture damage. Third, permanently installed air handling equipment cannot be operated during construction unless the filtration media has a minimum efficiency reporting value of 8. Immediately before occupancy, all filtration media must be replaced with the final design filtration media. Lastly, tobacco products may not be used inside the building or within 25 feet of the building entrance during construction. For all projects except healthcare, the first step towards achieving this credit is to integrate the SMACNA guidelines into the project drawings and specifications. These guidelines are reviewed at the end of the presentation. Step 2 is to develop an indoor air quality plan. This plan is typically prepared by the general contractor or the construction manager. A detailed checklist instead of an IAQ management plan is also acceptable. Step 3 is to implement the IAQ plan. This plan must be in place prior to starting above-ground construction, storing materials on site, or roughing in mechanical systems. Photographs should be taken of each IAQ measure for the documentation process. The requirements for healthcare projects are more stringent than the rest of the project types. The first 3 requirements are for moisture, particulates, and tobacco. These are identical to the requirements for all other project types, so I won't repeat them here. In addition to these 3, construction procedures must be scheduled to minimize exposure of absorbent materials to VOC emissions. In terms of outdoor emissions, a plan must be developed to manage fumes and avoid infiltration to occupied spaces. This is only required for certain renovation projects. For noise and vibration, a plan must be developed to reduce noise emissions and vibrations from construction equipment. Construction crews are required to wear ear protection in areas where sound levels exceed 85 decibels for extended periods. For infection control, the FGI 2010 guidelines for design and construction of healthcare facilities and Joint Commission on Standards must be followed. For healthcare projects, the first step towards achieving this credit is to evaluate the infection control risk. Step 2 is to integrate the Environmental Quality Management Plan, EQMP, into the project specifications. In order to do this, the EQMP must be developed. This EQMP is similar to the IAQ management plan, except with more measures. A detailed checklist can be used instead of an EQMP. Step 3 is to coordinate the EQMP with the design. This is important because many environmental quality management requirements and guidelines impact important design decisions. Step 4 is to implement the EQMP. The EQMP must be in place prior to starting above-ground construction, storing materials on site, or roughing in mechanical systems. Photographs should also be taken of each measure in order to ensure proper documentation. The Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning National Contractors Association is referenced a lot throughout this credit, so now I'm going to talk about the guidelines. The first guideline is HVAC protection. Contaminants must be kept out of the HVAC system, and construction teams should try to avoid running any permanently installed equipment. The second guideline is source control. Sources of contaminants must be kept out of the building, and plans must be in place to eliminate contaminants if they are introduced. The third guideline is pathway interruption. It is important to prevent the circulation of contaminated air when cutting concrete or wood, sanding drywall, or installing VOC emitting materials. The fourth guideline is housekeeping. In general, having a clean job site will result in fewer contaminants. The last guideline is scheduling. Construction activities should be sequenced to reduce air quality problems. The required documentation for this credit is shown here. Projects except for healthcare must document an IAQ management plan, while healthcare projects must document an EQMP. Additionally, all project types must include a narrative describing protection measures for absorbent materials, annotated photographs of indoor air and environmental quality measures, and a record of filtration media. That's it for IEQ Credit 3, Construction Indoor Air Quality Management Plan. Thank you for watching, and good luck on this week's quiz.